Hey there, English speakers, Jesse here. And I'm going to do a bit of a listening class today. We're going to look at actually a very serious topic. And involves a speech that Ashton Kutcher gave. We're going to listen to this. I'm going to dissect different expressions and vocabulary that he says so that you can understand what's been going on. So we're going to watch along with the video. We're going to watch his actual speech, and then I'll pause the video at certain times and explain what he said. So let's take a look at the video. Let's take a look at Ashton Kutcher's speech at the Senate Foreign Relations Committee.
Thank you. It is an honor to be here. As a young man raised and brought up in the public school system, I pledge my allegiance to that flag every single day.
And I'll stop there. What he said there is, pledge my allegiance to that flag. Pledge my allegiance to that flag. That's just referring to, I'm sure you have it too in your country, but in schools, and there's something that children do in schools where they stand up, you have the flag, your country's flag, and you stand up, put your hand on your heart, and recite this memorized poem but in the United States, it's called the Pledge of Allegiance. So he said, I pledge my allegiance to that flag. So that's what it's referring to. We call our speech that we give, our memorized poem, the Pledge of Allegiance.
And the honor, maybe one of the greatest honors of my life today, is to be here and leverage the work that I've done as testimony that may in some way benefit this nation that I love.
Okay, we'll pause there. I want to make mention about two vocabulary words, two expressions. The first, he said, leverage our work, and leverage the work I've done. And to leverage something, if something has leverage, it means that it has a mechanical advantage. Like, you know, if you take something, a stick or a screwdriver or a crowbar, and you have a box and you try to open the box, if you hold the stick or the screwdriver close to the box, it's very difficult to open. If you hold the screwdriver away from the box, further towards the end, it's a lot easier to open. Well, that's because you have more leverage. Leverage makes it easier. Leverage gives you an advantage. If you have an advantage, you have leverage. So leverage is try to manipulate something in an easier way, or try to use something. That's how he uses it here. Try to leverage. You can take the word leverage out of this sentence and put in use, and it would mean the same thing. So, for example,
one of the greatest honors of my life today is to be here and leverage the work that I've done as testimony.
And use the work that I've done. Leverage the work, use the work. Leverage is just a bit more powerful. Let's continue. Let's continue to the next word. Bipartisan. You're going to hear him say bipartisan.
I'd like to start by saying thank you to Chairman Corker for your leadership in this endeavor, and to Senator Cardin. Your leadership has been extraordinary, and I'd like to also say thank you to the rest of the committee that has supported this effort. This is a bipartisan effort, and in a country that is riddled with bipartisan separation on so many things, slavery seems to come up as one of these issues that we can all agree upon and I applaud you for your agreement, and I believe in you and your leadership and your ability to take us out of it.
He said the word bipartisan there. Bipartisan, well, first let's take a look at bi. Whenever you see the word bi, and then as a prefix, and then a word, bipartisan, bisexual, bicycle. Whenever you see the bi in the beginning of a word, it means two. So bisexual means you like both sexes. Bicycle, two tires. Bipartisan, partisan is a political party. So in the United States, we have Democrats and Republicans. And a bipartisan effort is something that is advantageous and is beneficial for both parties. Bipartisan. It's not a Republican plan, it's not a Democrat plan, it's bipartisan.
I'm here today to defend the right to pursue happiness. It's a simple notion, the right to pursue happiness. It's bestowed upon all of us by our Constitution. Every citizen of this country has the right to pursue it. And I believe that it is incumbent upon us as citizens of this nation, as Americans, to bestow that right upon others, upon each other, and upon the rest of the world.
Pause here. He's going to talk about pursuing happiness. Pursue something. If you pursue something, that means you're chasing it. You're following it with the intention to grab it or to catch it. Pursue, to pursue. You pursue somebody in a chase. The police pursue criminals. The coyote pursued or chased the roadrunner. Pursue. So when he's saying the words pursue happiness, because in our Constitution, we're guaranteed we have the right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So he's kind of referring back to our Constitution because he's in a legal setting and because, again, we can use our words to be more powerful and to make more of a statement. So listen to him talk about we have the right to pursue happiness, or the pursuit. Pursuit is the noun of the verb pursue, the pursuit of happiness. We have the right to pursue happiness.
But the right to pursue happiness for so many is stripped away. It's raped. It's abused. It's taken by force, fraud, or coercion. It is sold for the momentary happiness of another.
Okay, pause there. You see that he says here, he uses three words, and I'm just going to repeat them in case you didn't catch them because they're very powerful and they're very ugly sounding. So he's using these vocabulary words to paint a picture in our minds and in our hearts. It's taken by force, fraud, or coercion. The three words he says are it's taken by force, by fraud, or by coercion. By force, by fraud, by coercion. Force, you're probably familiar with force, using strength. Fraud, that's what he says. Fraud, lying, fake, that idea. Fraud. And coercion. Coercion means kind of to gain something by threat or manipulation. By force, fraud, or coercion. Those are the pictures he paints. Those are the words that he uses.
Now, this is about the time when I start talking about politics that the internet trolls tell me to stick to my day job. So I'd like to talk about my day job.
Okay, pause here because I want to talk about a phrase. He's going to start talking about the internet trolls. The internet, by the way, we don't pronounce the T in American English. the internet trolls. A troll is, I'm sure that troll is similar in your language. But if you don't know, a troll is someone who gets on the internet and types something to you trying to get you angry and upset and maybe respond. So the trolls, and he'll use the expression, stick to your day job.
To stick to my day job.
The expression, stick to your day job. That means, well, your day job is your job that you do. Whether you're a dentist, a teacher, a plumber, a construction worker, your day job. It's what you do. And the expression, stick to your day job, is kind of an insulty way to say, stop doing this. It's a way to insult them. Like, for example, if I grab my guitar and I say, I've got a song to play, and I play and it doesn't sound good, then you could tell me, Jesse, stick to your day job. Stick to your day job. That means remain, stay, don't quit your day job. You're not very good at this, or you have no business doing this.
My day job is as the chairman and the co-founder of Thorn. We build software to fight human trafficking and the sexual exploitation of children. And that's our core mission. My other day job is that of the father of two, a 2-month-old and a 2-year-old. And as part of that job that I take very seriously, I believe that it is my effort to defend their right to pursue happiness and to ensure a society and government that defends it as well. As part of my anti-trafficking work, I've met victims in Russia. I've met victims in India. I've met victims that have been trafficked from Mexico, victims in New York and New Jersey and all across our country. I've been on FBI raids where I've seen things that no person should ever see. I've seen video content of a child that's the same age as mine being raped by an American man that was a sex tourist in Cambodia. And this child was so conditioned by her environment that she thought she was engaging in play.
Pause there. This is very heavy content. This is very heavy content, but it's very important. He said a couple words I'd like to highlight. Sex tourist, people who travel to different places that are well known or infamous. Infamous is being famous for something bad. For example, Hitler was infamous. He was famous, but famous has more of a positive connotation. Infamous has a negative connotation. So, sex tourists are people who go to different places that are infamous for having easy access to cheap sex, basically. And the last thing he said was that the children thought they were engaging in play. Engaging in play. That's an engage in something means you're active in something. So I just wanted to draw light on and highlight those expressions. This is really heavy, but it's also very important and very useful language.
I've been on the other end of a phone call from my team asking for my help because we had received a call from the Department of Homeland Security telling us that a 7-year-old girl was being sexually abused and that content was being spread around the dark web. And she had been being abused and they'd watched her for 3 years and they could not find the perpetrator. Asking us for help. We were the last line of defense. An actor and his foundation were the potential last line of defense.
Stop. Pause there. The last line of defense, it's kind of a military type picture. It creates a military type picture. A line of defense is a way to defend yourself, a way to defend your team, your country. A line of defense. It's a method of defense. So the last line of defense against these, what he called perpetrators, the offenders, him and his team, Ashton Kutcher and his team, were the last line of defense. The last line of defense. The last, say it with me. The last line of defense. The last line of defense. Okay, go back a few seconds and listen to that again.
That's my day job, and I'm sticking to it. I'd like to tell you a story about a 15-year-old girl in Oakland. We'll call her Amy. Amy met a man online, started talking to him. A short while later, they met in person. Within hours, Amy was abused, raped, and forced into trafficking. She was sold for sex. And this isn't an isolated incident. There's not much that's unusual about it. The only unusual thing is that Amy was found and returned to her family within 3 days using the software that we created, a tool called Spotlight. And in an effort to protect its capacity over time, I won't give much detail about what it does, but it's a tool that can be used by law enforcement to prioritize their caseload. It's a neural net. It gets smarter over time. It gets better and it gets more efficient as people use it. And it's working.
Okay, so first, he's talking about his personal or his company's creation. It's called Spotlight. That's why he said that. But it's to combat, it's to fight human trafficking. Trafficking is when you illegally bring something from into a country. So this is human trafficking. There could be drug trafficking. That's when you bring drugs out from outside of a country into a country illegally. Trafficking. This is to fight human trafficking.
In 6 months, with 25% of our users reporting, we've identified over 6,000 trafficking victims, 2,000 of which are minors. This tool is in the hands of 4,000 law enforcement officials and 900 agencies. And we're reducing the investigation time by 60%. This tool is effective, it's efficient, it's nimble, it's better, it's smarter.
It's effective means it works well. It's efficient means it works in good time and quickly and with the least amount of energy. Energy like human energy or making energy or time wasted. Efficient. Not much time and not much energy wasted. Effective, efficient, nimble. Nimble means kind of similar to agile or agile. Or you can move stealthily. You can move quickly. And better. Of course you know better. Let's continue.
Now, there's often a misconception about technology that in some way it is the generator of some evil, that it's creating job displacement, and that it enables violence and malice acts. But as an entrepreneur and as a venture capitalist in the technology field...
Pause. Okay. He says the word entrepreneur, which is a very difficult word to pronounce, even for native speakers. Because it's actually a French word. So if you're French watching, this will be an easy word for you to pronounce. But we use the word entrepreneur. It's a business owner. An entrepreneur is a business owner who starts his own business and starts his own company. And he also said the word venture capitalist. Venture capitalist. These are words that imply and show that he's a business starter. He's going to go on to talk about how technology is a tool. And he uses the term a tool without will. A tool without will is, your will is something you want to do. Your will, your free will, do what you want to do.
I see technology as simply a tool without will. The will is the user of that technology, and I think it's an important distinction. An airplane is a tool. It's a piece of technology, and under the right hands, it's used for mass global transit, and under the wrong hands, it can be flown into buildings. Technology can be used to enable slavery, but it can also be used to disable slavery, and that's what we're doing. I alluded to a phone call that we got from the Department of Homeland Security about this girl that was being trafficked on the dark web. Now, it's interesting to note that the dark web was created in the mid-90s. It was a tool that was created by the Naval Research Lab called Tor, a tool with absolute purpose and positive intention for sharing intelligence communications anonymously. It's also been used to help people who are being disenfranchised by their government within political dissent in oppressive regimes.
He said a lot here. He said a lot of big words, a lot of technical words, and a lot of political terms, and he said them very powerfully. But the last thing he said was people who are being disenfranchised by its government or by their government. To be disenfranchised is to be declined or rejected their basic rights. And if it's done by the government, that's dangerous. But that's what disenfranchised means. Disenfranchised. Now, listen to what he uses as a transition. A transition from the positive to now he's going to go into the negative aspects of the dark web, which is the web that we're not using now. It's the secret web, the higher tech web. But the transition from one point to the opposite point. Listen to how he does it.
But on the other side, it's used for trafficking, for drug trafficking, for weapons trafficking, and for human trafficking. And it's also the warehouse for some of the most offensive child abuse images in the world. Now, when the Department of Homeland Security called us and asked for our help and asked if we had a tool, I had to say no. And it devastated me. It haunted me. Because for the next 3 months, I had to go to sleep every night and think about that little girl that was still being abused. And the fact that if I built the right thing, we could save her. So that's what we did. And now, if I got that phone call from Greg, wherever you're at, the answer would be yes. We've taken these investigation times of dark web material from 3 years down to what we believe can be 3 weeks. The tool is called Solus. Once again, I won't go into too much detail about the tool, but it's being used by 40 agencies across the world today in beta, and we believe that it's going to yield extraordinary results. And just like Spotlight, it gets smarter and more efficient and more cost-effective over time.
Another transition. Check out this transition.
So where do we go from here? What do we need?
We're going to listen to this again because this transition was powerful. Because in the beginning, for the first 8 minutes or so, he talked about the problem. He talked about the problem and then talked about his equipment and his tools. Now he's going to use a transition, a beautiful transition, to go into what we need, where to go in the future. So, taking away the content, he talks about the need or the problem and the need, potential solution, and then future solutions he goes into. Listen to this transition.
So where do we go from here? What do we need?
Pause. So, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? You say it. Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? One more time. Where do we go from here? What do we need?
So where do we go from here? What do we need? Obviously, we need money. We need financing in order to build these tools. Technology is expensive to build, but the beauty of technology is once you build the warehouse, it gets more efficient and more cost-effective over time. I might be able to present to you a government initiative where next year I come back and ask for less. And to me, that's like, it seems extraordinary. The technology we're building is efficient, it works, it's nimble, because traffickers change their modus operandi, and we can change ours as well, just as efficiently, if not more efficiently, as they can. It's enduring, and it only gets smarter with time.
Okay, pause there. He said a lot of things there, and the final thing that he said is it's enduring. To endure something is to persevere, is to last. It's enduring, and it only gets better with time.
Only gets smarter with time.
It only gets smarter with time. It only gets smarter with time. It only, and then present simple, and finish the sentence. It only gets, like a fine wine, it only gets better with age. It only gets smarter with time. That means it's constantly improving. Okay, so that's enough for today. This video is about half over. It's a little more than half over. So tune in to the next video. In the next video, I'll break down the rest of the speech. It's really powerful, and he's going to get into his proposed solutions for and what his programs do. So I'm going to put the original video in the description box below so you can watch that after you watch our breakdown and practice the expressions. I'll come back in the next video and we'll break this down even more. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.